$5,500 to $5,000 this year is to allow members to invest 2 units because of the law only allows up to $10,000. So if at $5,500 you can only do 1, but now we are making it so you can invest 2 units. The entrepreneurs side, they apply to be a part of this 12-week conference, and then over time it kind of whittles down to the finalists as we go through due diligence, which is where the investors learn how to do that due diligence. They then make the final equity investment in 1 startup, and last year that was Rampart Innovations. This is how the schedule is. We are nearing the end of our workshop phase. Our conference officially starts in February, on February 5th, where it's being held online over Zoom, and then of course in person at the Innovation Summit, which is February 26th and 27th. And then the final event is on April 23rd here in Juneau, where we will make the final investment. And so now I would like to hand over this to Elise, or to introduce herself. She is a co-founder of Attently. So Elise, are you on the line?
Yep, I'm here. Thanks, Erin. I think most of you have met me before, at least the investors and people who are involved in the community. My name is Elise Sonis. I'm the co-founder and the chief product officer for Attently. And do you want me to give a quick overview of what Attently is, Erin?
Yes, that would be great.
Okay. So Attently is, so basically millions of dollars are spent every year on advertisements, and yet the advertisers have no idea if people are actually viewing their ads online. So Attently is solving that problem by building a panel of people that we track online, so we can tell what they're looking at while they're browsing the internet, to then provide that information to advertisers to inform them of if people are actually looking at their advertisements and if that money is worthwhile.
Wonderful. Okay, now Tim, feel free to introduce yourself and do a quick overview of Rampart Innovations.
Yes, good evening, everybody. It's Tim Fulton, Rampart Innovations. I'm calling tonight from Boise, Idaho. We relocated down here after the Alaska Angel Conference last year, and it's been a great move for our business. What Rampart Innovations does is help airlines reduce cost and injuries associated with loading aircraft. We have a patented motorized folding conveyor system that goes into the belly of the aircraft that mechanically moves baggage, mail, and cargo, eliminating the need to throw those commodities the length of the aircraft belly. That's us.
All right, and so if you visualizing Rampart Innovations from that description is really well, but Tim has this really awesome video that he has from his website, so I'm gonna try and pull that up, and it's a really great promo.
Always rely on technology, right?
What? Could you say that again?
Always rely on technology.
Wait, can you see the video?
I cannot.
Okay.
You need to.
Can others see the video? Because we.
I don't know that. Hey, why is this going away? Screen.
There it is. No.
What?
You want to share the other screen. If you want to share the video.
Okay. Hi.
You share. Good. There we go. Bottom. There it is. Perfect. Right now, shadow. Right. Back it up.
There's no audio.
Well, we are just going to abandon this, I think, due to tech. But I really invite all of you to take a look at his really great video because it seems like a great pitch and it's really quick. It's 3 minutes long, and I think it is a really great job that you did that, Tim. So kind of moving into the rest of this workshop is we want to have a Q&A for the entrepreneurs, Elise and Tim, and how they took part in Alaska Angel Conference last year to allow interested entrepreneurs this year to kind of pick their brains. And so we're going to start off with a couple questions, and then we'll open it up to the floor to interested 2020 entrepreneurs. So the first question that I have is for Elise. And what was your #1 takeaway from Alaska Angel Conference 2019?
Sure. I'm not sure I have just one takeaway. Funnily enough, the first thing that comes to mind is to not rely on technology for the pitch. So just for the entrepreneurs in the room, and yeah, we had an issue with our pitch last year at AAC with our video not working, and it was totally our fault. We shouldn't have relied on that, and should have prepared ahead of time. And yeah, so that's just kind of a lesson learned, and so I don't think we'll ever do that again in a pitch unless we have it fully dialed in and the tech ready to go before we ever go up on stage. So just kind of a forewarning there. And then in terms of, I guess, another takeaway is that yes, AAC is a competition, but it's also an opportunity to build relationships with investors and other entrepreneurs. And so it's not just about winning, but rather building those relationships that can help you in various ways in the future, which, yeah, Attently met new investors there, and it was, so even though we did not win the competition, we still got a lot out of it. So keep that in mind.
And Tim, so what was your #1 takeaway, of course, other than the final investment?
I would say that my #1 takeaway is the importance of what the Alaska Angel Conference is doing for the state of Alaska. The building up investor network and making it so companies have some place to go in the state is really very important. On the business side of things, for the company, we learned a bunch about what it takes to become investment ready, going through the due diligence, understanding what investors are looking for, and like Elise said, making connections. It's so very important to have connections, networking throughout whatever you're doing. There's not only for investment purposes, but what other value and information and connections people can bring to you.
Great. So then moving on, I think that those are great answers, especially Tim, speaking about how the importance in the overall health of the startup ecosystem in Alaska and how that angel investing can really breathe life into that. And I think that Alaska Angel Conference is a way that we can do that. So do you have any advice for speaking to potential investors, Tim?
Yeah, one one thing that jumps out at me that I didn't do well with is making sure the communications are open. We did that, but there was a couple things that there's a lot of information coming your way, and to make sure that everybody is on the same page as what you're trying to say, as well as maybe repeating what your message is more than once. I had something that I thought I had shared with the investors, but it turns out that I had not, or they hadn't heard it, or something like that. So just making sure that you're communicating well.
And same question to you, Elise. Any advice for speaking to potential investors?
Yeah, I guess my advice would be to build a long-lasting relationship. So rather than just kind of having one meeting with an investor, get to know them as people, ask them for advice, keep meeting with them over time, give them frequent updates on the company, basically let them grow with you. Most investments don't happen overnight, and they happen because you have a relationship with that person. They often invest in the team more than the company. So get to know them well.
As building on relationships, yes, is absolutely important. And whether it's within your team or speaking to investors, I think that's definitely really important. And is that something that you guys knew before starting at Alaska Angel Conference, or was there a moment along the way that maybe you have a story like that within the conference?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was. Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
No, go ahead, Lisa. There was just silence there. I was going to fill it in, but please go.
I wouldn't say it was necessarily something we learned just from the conference, but just over time raising money. The investors that we have raised from, have been people that we've met with definitely more than once, and that have followed us along as we've gone on this journey. So I don't know if I have one particular story, but like I said, it's a relationship that you build over time, and that's just been our experience this whole way along this entire time. Tim?
And I would say that it's important for, I think, both the investors and for entrepreneurs to realize that the investors are part of the team. Is something that I alluded to there, that the value they can bring for connections and those kind of things is very important part of that. And I have made it a practice of updating the investors of our progress and ups and downs and all that on a weekly email type of thing. And we try to communicate with our investors on a regular basis. So just so the investors and entrepreneurs know, I think that they are part of the team.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And just to piggyback off that, you said you write updates on the ups and downs, and I think being candid and honest in those updates can be really important, because oftentimes either an investor might know somebody that will help you with something that you're struggling with, or will give you additional funding or whatever it is that you need. So don't be afraid to ask for help and be honest with where you're at.
So part of the reason why I wanted to ask that question is because over time, it's taken a lot of work to get to the idea of your businesses and your products. So, but at one point over time, did you really realize that you had the right idea and that you were at the right point to really launch your businesses?
Well, I'll go first. I guess for me, because of my past experience with my product developments that I'd done in the past and what was going on there, I knew that there had to be a product that was better. And I knew that I had something but the moment that I actually put it in the belly of an aircraft and it performed better than I could have possibly imagined, I knew that I had the right idea. I knew that I was onto something that was going to change the world.
And so Attently, I know that since its inception, your product has changed over time. So how has your team decided that you are now you're on the right idea and that you're at the point?
Yeah, it's definitely changed a lot over the years. And I think part of that was because we kind of started as a solution looking for a problem, which is not something that I advise to do. And basically what we've done over, especially the last year, is talk to as many people as possible. So we've really dived deep into the advertising world, and that was because some of our advisors and mentors have experience in advertising and suggested that we talk to people about our technology and see if it's the right fit. And we even kind of advertising is really big, and so we talked to many different players within it, and ultimately we found the right spot because we were hearing from primarily brands and media agencies that they were just in awe that we could tell them if somebody was actually looking at their advertisements online. Like, that's unheard of. So they're already spending thousands of dollars on each campaign that they do to tell them if an ad even appeared on a screen. So what we provide is just so much more valuable than that, and that was kind of an aha moment for us, that something that they're already paying, like they're paying for something similar, and yet we can provide something so much better. And once we started hearing that consistently in all of our conversations, that's when we kind of realized that we hit the nail on the head.
And Elise, how long did that from inception to the point where you're at today, did that take, I guess?
Gosh, that's a hard question. I wasn't with the company at the very beginning, so I'm thinking that it probably took us about a year and a half, I would say, but that's probably a better question for Eric, who's founded it from the start.
And so then going right into talking about teams, and we kind of mentioned it earlier, is do you have a team, and how did you build it? And Tim, if you don't have a team, what do you think the benefits are? So Tim, I'll point that at you first.
Well, I think it goes back to what I was talking about there before. We have a team of consultants that are working with us. They bring expertise in the places that Ramper Innovations is needing it at the time that we need it. We have a team of investors, we have attorneys, accountants, all those kind of things. You definitely understand being an entrepreneur in a startup company, why startups or small business is the backbone of our economy, because we are keeping the attorneys and the accountants and the engineers employed as we move through this. So there was another part to your question. You wanted to know how to build a team?
Okay. It was, how did you build your team?
Yeah, so for me, it was networking, just getting the idea out there, talking to people, and just finding the right ones that believed in what we're doing, that wanted to help us move it forward. And we're still working on team members. We signed a contract today with a CFO, temporary CFO company. So we're still bringing on team members as we speak.
Tim, is there anything in particular that you look for in team members, or anything that you try and stay away from?
Yeah, that's been a learning experience for sure. And I'm, to be honest, we're still trying to figure that out. But I've made it a practice that for the people that we want to bring on, like this um, temporary CFO position, we interviewed four different companies and went with the one that provided what we needed and was the best connection for us.
And Elise, like I do know that you are a part of a team there at Attently, and how did the Attently team come to be what it is today?
Sure. Yes, we're currently a team of 5, so 3 developers and then Eric and I. 2 of the developers actually came out of University of Fairbanks and kind of came out of the CS program. Some of them started when they were in the CS program, and some of them started as interns and then kind of worked their way into the company while as they left school. So that was really awesome that we were able to work with recent graduates. And we also have someone so it's all a remote team at the moment. And our 3rd developer that came on board in the last 6 months, he lives in Massachusetts and he is actually one of our users. So we started building a panel of people that download our software, and we interact with our users quite frequently. And I asked a lot of people to do a feedback survey, and he wrote on the survey that he's a developer and interested in learning about our needs and learning about the company. And we had several calls with him, and he's been a great addition to the team. So that was really cool. And let's see. We've also worked with several contractors over the last year. So our company is very tech heavy, and we needed some outside assistance to build some of the technology. So we've worked with a team in India as well as someone in Chicago and also in Santa Monica, and I've had different experiences with them. Some great, but I would say it's been quite a challenge actually working with contractors, especially overseas. So that's been a learning experience for us.
And you said that you are working with recent graduates, which has been, you've had a good experience for that. Is there a reason why they have been so enjoyable to work with?
Yeah, I would say the 2 that we're working with right now are very eager to learn, and they just really want to build stuff. I don't know how to put it any differently. I think some developers, at least that I've met that have been in the field for a long time, are maybe want to be in more a managerial role, whereas the 2 that we're working with, at least that came out of Fairbanks, are just so excited to work on sexy new technology and are excited to wake up every day and build something. So for a startup, that's extremely important, and that's what I would look for in any future developer.
Great. So then kind of moving on towards maybe lessons learned. Have you, Tim or Elise, experienced any failures during your time, and what did you learn from them?
I can start. Yeah, I guess it depends on what you consider a failure, but like I said, it certainly kind of started as a solution, searching for a problem. I think that's a failure in and of itself, and it took a long time to just adjust that framework to rather focus on the problem and let go of the solution. So I think the biggest lesson there is talk to people and don't hold on to some technology or the solution. even though it might be your baby and you're like, oh, I know that this is like the right solution. Listen to the people that you actually want to solve a problem for, and be obsessed with the problem, and adjust the solution to fit that problem.
Tim?
Yeah, I wouldn't say failures, but definitely undesired outcomes that we had to adapt and figure out a better way to go forward, type of thing. An example of what that is I think I learned, probably not soon enough, but that the professionals that we're hiring, we're working with, don't always have the answers either. So just from my experience, just be aware of that there are those out there that can get you in trouble if you follow them blindly. Just be aware that that you want to continue to network and listen to other people and make informed choices. Just don't go blindly on what somebody's telling you.
Great. So this is my last prepared question for the evening. So entrepreneurs, feel free to get ready to ask your questions after we get done with this one, and investors too. Do you have any advice for the entrepreneurs who are looking to get involved in Alaska Angel Conference 2020?
Yeah, go for it. I'm with Randy. I don't know why Candy would be hesitant to do it, but it's a grand learning experience. You wouldn't, it takes time, but it's a valuable investment with what you have to have ahead of you. Just go for it. It's a grand experience, and it'll be valuable for you.
Great. And Elise?
I guess my main advice, because the big part of AUC is that final pitch. My advice is to keep it really simple. So be super clear and simple about the problem and the solution and why you're the right person. Don't use jargon or industry jargon. Don't talk too much about the technology or what you're building, but rather, focus on the problem and the solution and make it easy to understand. People should get what you're doing in the first 30 seconds. So and I think Tim did a phenomenal job of doing that, by the way. So I think that's probably why he won. So congrats, Tim. I was very impressed with his pitch last year, and I think if anybody could watch that as an example, they should, as they prepare.
And if I could piggyback off of that, I think that you need to be aware of who your audience is, and who you're pitching to as to what you're doing. Here, we just got accepted into venturecapital.org's big event. It's called Investors Choice in Utah. And so we had to back up and look at who these investors are, what their sophistication level is, in order to redo our deck to talk to our audience. So that's, I think, very important as well.
Well, great. And with that, we definitely want to open up the floor to other entrepreneurs or investors who have questions about their experience from last year.
So you can either chime in with a question, we'll try that, and you could also use the chat feature. And if you write in a question, then we will make sure that that gets asked as well. So your preference. But if someone has one right now, that'd be great.
Okay.
The uncomfortable silence, we can do it.
Well, if I may, I heard a little bit of a question from Nigel there earlier, and I just would give him a brief update on something that he helped with his I-Corps. here in Boise, we also got accepted into the Idaho Department of Commerce's pavilion at the Singapore Air Show. And on the way to Singapore, I will be stopping by Tokyo and meeting with a client there that resulted in a meeting that we had through Nigel's I-Corps program back in DC. So it is working out for us that way.
Thanks, Tim. That was nice of you. I was actually asking a question. I thought you had mind read the question while we were muted here, so I was actually really impressed. We had a secret mic here. Anyway, my question is kind of I always like to get the flip side of the story, right? So it's easy as the winner to sort of see the value in it. But I imagine that it was like, whatever it was, 18, 17 other teams that didn't quite make it to the very end. So, why, to ask the opposite question, why would you recommend entrepreneurs not do the Angel Conference? What are the potential downsides that you could see? And I'd like you guys to project, maybe not to the very, very finalists, but the teams that only make it, let's say, halfway through. What are the potential downsides you could see for that?
I see the downside as it just being a really big time commitment for an entrepreneur. So I think the ones that would get the most out of it are ones that are maybe new to entrepreneurship, haven't met a lot of investors in the community, and kind of want that extra learning. So yeah, so I think it depends on the stage that you're at in the company and your experience level. But yeah, I mean, it is a big time commitment, which for us was worth it in the end, but it's something to consider.
I would direct a question to Tim, and it's along those same lines, and it is specifically, if you can, Tim, how much time commitment was it? Because I know when when you started, you were pretty much a one-man show, which means as a one-man show or a one-woman show as a new entrepreneur, you are busier than a one-armed person in a paper hanging contest.
Yes, and it's been a long time ago. It was a lot of water has gone under the bridge since that time. But I can just say that I thought I was busy then, and now I know what busy is, and I can't wait for the next level of busy to hit. But for me, it was all stuff that needed to be done. To keep moving forward with the company, to open my eyes as to what needed to be. Example you're using, Randy, is bringing on team members. That became obvious through the process that was something that I needed to have there and work on that and the due diligence. To honestly answer your question, the downside, if I don't know what it would be. I mean, it's as an entrepreneur, for me, it's a learning experience, and that's what it was. You just got to keep on learning. So.
This is Juliet in Fairbanks. And this one's for Tim, actually. In the past recent months, I've seen some innovative air cargo systems that are boasting, a similar type of solution. And I'm wondering, with your mechanical solution, how are you, or how have you navigated the sort of issue of IP protections as you're doing your investor interviews, and especially it sounds like you're traveling to Asia and those kinds of things. How has that been for you?
Yeah, it's always a concern, and there's always complications to it. But we do have our domestic patent that has been issued to us, so that helps us out here on the domestic side of things. And we have actually filed. We're expanding our IP portfolio with a CIP filing, a continuation in part. And what that has allowed is for us to file with the PCT, the Patent Cooperative Treaty, and that gives us some protection in, well, I think all except for like 16 countries or something like that. You still have to file individually in those, but you do have your stake in the sand to be able to do that. So we do have, it's very important. Thanks for bringing that up. IP is very important. We don't always do it with investors, but anybody that we get right down to sharing our technology with, we have an NDA on file with them before we go into any kind of conversations. We have that with the companies that we are negotiating with in India and Japan. Of course, the backside of that is that you always have to do a risk assessment and what is the potential to have to defend in those countries and what's that going to cost. So we do have international attorneys that advise us on that and look at our risks as we move forward.
Any questions?
So we have some questions from the chat. And before I ask those questions though, because we're in the conversation stage and we don't have to look at the slideshow, I do encourage everyone to turn on their videos to make it feel more like a conversation than it is looking at a black screen. But the question coming from Ross Johnston is there a type of business or a stage of business that should not apply, like a brick and mortar or business, or is that only an idea? So is there someone that should not apply in your opinion, Tim or Elise?
I hadn't thought about that, Ross. I think anybody, a brick and mortar, like yourself, with what you're trying to do with the different things, I think that once again, it's a learning experience. And I think that you would find value in going through the process and at least, making connections. You're pretty well connected already, but that's always part of what we have to do, is learn to have those conversations.
Yeah, I guess I would say I just think people should think about if they actually want to raise money. So not every business needs to raise money. It needs to raise money for equity. So I just advise people that do apply to just do some research beforehand and see if it's the right move for them.
Hi, this is Laura from Pandier Shoes. I have a question. I think some of my other questions have already been answered, but we're kind of like everybody else in that we're not super experts on investment. We're figuring it out as we go. And I wondered, I guess this is a question for Tim and for Attently. If you go through the entire process and then you end up with terms that maybe aren't going to work with your business, I mean, how would that work? Could you go through the whole process and then you're not agreeing to anything in advance, right?
Yes, that is correct. So we did go through all the process, and it is something like Elise just said. It's something that you need to be aware of. We actually got to the point where we negotiated terms, and our attorney advised us to walk away from those terms. But we went and had a heart-to-heart, and assess the risk to us and where we were at and what we needed to move forward. And we decided that the terms were something that would work for us, and we made that choice to take those terms.
Sure. Hey guys, this is Kevin in Anchorage. I just wanted to chime in on the question about the terms and stuff. And you know, the Alaska Angel Conference is built on this Angel Conference model that happened in lots of other cities, including Seattle. And one of the learnings that they had was to, in order to not get everybody spun up around the wheels on the term, to let the lead investor have that conversation with the companies as they get later into the process. So you know, you're having the conversation throughout, and in some cases, those companies already had term sheets, already had commitments from other investors. And so in those cases, you know, it's not realistic to expect the company to take some worse deal than they've already negotiated with their current investors. And so it is a case-by-case basis, though, because every company is different. They have different markets. They have different, you know, they're at a different stage, different level of maturity. So anyway, it's a great question, something that's important to all entrepreneurs, and it's critically important to investors. So but at the end of the day, it has to work for both sides. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So it's my best non-answer answer.
Well, I would like to have a final call for questions. Anybody else? Well, you know, this was a really successful 10th workshop for the Alaska Angel Conference.
Hey, Aaron.
Yep, go
Before
ahead.
Bradley here. Before you wrap things up, I was thinking for those of us who have been involved, I wonder if Ramper and Attently could give more specific updates about where they're at now compared to where they were at the end of the AAC 2019.
That's a great question. Tim, Elise, feel free.
Well, for us, we have another product that we just tested in an interesting environment. We took it to a wide body, and it performed amazingly well once again. So we're getting closer with that. On the product side of things, there was a couple hiccups that we've working through for that. We have a lot of contracts that we have developed in these negotiations we're needing to use. The contract manufacturing is not an easy thing to get into. We put together documents with that, with specific specs and so on. So our IP is now, like I said before, we got a good portfolio going for our IP side of things. We're right on the edge of taking off, getting our first sales, and we wouldn't have been able to be there without Alaska Angel Conference.
Thanks, Tim. That's great news. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's we're really excited about it. Like I said, I think somebody I see on the chat figuring out our margins. That's what we're bringing the CFO position in. We're still dealing with that. They're going to help us start working on the value based pricing model and see what we can do with that. But yeah, it takes time, it takes commitment, and it takes money to move things forward, and that's what we can continue to do, is figure things out. We're also started, I'm feeling good about our MVP, and we are interviewing for our our first sales team. We're going to take it off of what I've been doing and the other members of the team and get a official sales team put together and start getting aggressive about getting our product out there.
Well, and as for Attently, I'd say the biggest update is that we just signed a contract with Kantar. So Kantar is the largest market research firm in the world. So that was a really big achievement for us. So we're scoping out what a pilot is going to look like over the next several months, and it's kind of multiple stages to the process, but it could lead to a very close relationship with Kantar. So that's super exciting. And then we also have a contract that we're working through with a large media agency and a big publisher in New York City. So lots of big pilots. They're all going to take several months to complete, but that's what we've been working for the last several months. So super excited about that, and the technical side of things are going well. We're making our gaze detection much more accurate and are adjusting the product to solve the problem that we're solving. So helping advertisers see or know if people are looking at their ads. So we're making big strides, and yeah, that's kind of the quick update.
Congratulations, Elise. I'm glad you guys got that Kantar contract moving forward.
Thanks, Bradley. Yeah, it's super exciting.
So one thing that just popped into my head here that I'd like to share with other entrepreneurs is to pursue anything, anything out there, just make it work. What I referred to, the test that we just did on a wide body, it was just an opportunity that came our way, and it was a market that we were not even looking at, and we performed well, and now that market has a real potential. We're talking with the company that actually was the charter to see if we can move things forward with what their pain points are. So just be open and willing to pursue anything.
Tim, did you use your same prototype in the wide body, or did you develop a new product, or how did that come about?
We kind of adapted from the information we had. We didn't use our first model, but we used our production model in the test, and basically it wasn't anything pretty. We put some strips of plywood down on the container's floors so it could go over the top of the locks, but it saved over 20 minutes on the turn, and it would be real easy to modify our current product to work with what the needs are. So
nice.
Yeah, they were very impressed and have come to us for conversations. So.
Hi, this is Kevin in Anchorage. I have one more question for you guys. So one of the goals of the Angel Conference is to build up this angel investment community so that we can support more startups and create more successful entrepreneurs and companies and all the good things that come with that. And so for me, one of the greatest successes, I think, in AAC 2019 was the fact that we actually got some new angel investors that went through this process, and separate from the conference, actually made another investment. And Elise, you kind of alluded to this earlier, but I wonder if you could maybe just talk through, and maybe if one of those investors who did actually invest wants to, say anything about it. I think one of them is on the phone. But can you talk a little bit about that, Elise? You alluded to the fact that it's important to build that relationship, but I wonder if you could just talk through how that happened. Like, how did it actually come about that you secured an investment outside of the process?
Sure. I'm trying to think back on exactly how it happened, but we met Bradley. So Bradley, if you have anything that you want to add, please do. but we
Yeah.
actually didn't meet in person. Yeah. But
I started out as a due diligence lead for the AAC for Attently.
Mhm.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so each team gets paired with a due diligence lead, and so that's how we got to know Bradley, was over, many calls throughout the entire process, and just developed that relationship. And then we also met one other investor who's also in Juneau, and we met with him in person during AAC, and he ended up investing too.
Yeah, this is Scott in Fairbanks. I actually met the Attently folks before they applied for the AAC, and really spoke with them for about a year, getting to know them, watching their progress, and before making an investment in the company. But again, taking that time to really get to know the team and see how they're doing and how they're continue to be impressed on how they have been pivoting to follow where the demand for their product is.
Mhm. Thanks, Scott.
So Bradley, and I don't know what can be done with that, but as we move forward, we've gotten on the wheel here, right? We need to continue to raise money and move our things, our ideas forward. Is there something that can be done with the Alaska Angel Conference that we can come out with some type of a document that we can use in future rounds through the due diligence or something like that? Is there any model for that out there?
Kevin, maybe you can address this. Last year, Kevin put together a document that he shared with the investors and entrepreneurs. It was a due diligence checklist, a bunch of items that one should look for in doing due diligence. And I found that checklist really helpful, just in thinking about the range of possibilities.
I can find that and share that with the group again.
Yeah, I have that, but it wasn't, basically as an entrepreneur, what I put together was just documents that I could send out to that. If it was something like what's actually the GUST side of things, where the other conferences and investors that I talk to, I can refer them to GUST, but to have an actual document that I could hand to somebody through the process, or another entrepreneur could hand to somebody through the processes. This was what the due diligence looked like through the Alaska Angel Conference.
Yeah, and I totally get what you're asking, and I understand where you're coming from. The thing is that the process of due diligence is different with each company. I mean,
each company.
Similarities, but for you, for example, understanding your supply chain and manufacturing cost structure is much more important than maybe a software as a service that's using Amazon Web Services. So, as much as I'd love to say, oh yeah, there's this one sheet, all you have to do is go put all these files in a folder and your due diligence is done. Like that's
all right, it's always more complex than we think, 10 times more, right?
But I still think, I think going through the process, getting asked those questions, pulling them together, putting them into a deal room like you had, I think that's a great step forward to starting the next round of due diligence.
Yes, it is.
So, but they will always ask for something else. So expect that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Bradley Pizzamini in Anchorage. I'm wondering if both Tim and Elise could touch on testing and development, and maybe all that occurred prior to the Angel Conference last year. But I'm just curious how much of a factor money was in being able to understand the markets that your products were entering, and how you took that back to your design stage.
Yeah, so you're testing, you're talking about the customer discovery side of things or the product testing? Not sure what the ask was.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, that wasn't a super coherent question. I'm talking about on the product design. You know, presumably that's going to be earlier stage. You know, when you're actually building, you know, for Attently, this might have been deep in the weeds with how you're doing eye tracking and what's going to fit the market. For you, it might be what sort of motors you're going to be using for your conveyors. So, you know, was that sort of a problem, or were those problems that money could solve, or were those problems, I guess, that money couldn't solve and, you know, really required the talent? I know Elise mentioned earlier having challenges with international contractors, which is something that I can relate to. Yeah, I just wondered how much of a factor in terms of getting into the weeds of what you're building and putting out in the world, where money figured into that for each of you.
Yeah, for the product side of things, it made all the difference in the world. Even though I had a prototype, it still wasn't our MVP. It wasn't something that we were ready to put out there. So we engineered and manufactured and engineered and manufactured, and still the product that we got when we put it all together was still needs some adapting to it. So it is very important on the engineering side of things, and the testing, the customer discovery, those kind of things it's important to be able to have that information and the money to be able to establish that as you go forward. Hopefully that answered your question from my side.
Yeah, and on my end, I agree. Like, money is essential. But with a software company, product development never ends, and in order to put something in front of customers, to even get just early feedback, required quite a bit of development on our end. So, so if you're working on something that takes a lot of time and skill, that requires money to get it done. So yeah, I don't think Attently would be around if we didn't have investment to work on the product.
And I guess I will just add that that's why we're going back to more investment with this next conference and so on. Is it takes a bunch of money to be able to set up and get ready to manufacture at any type of scale. We need to be able to afford machining and so on to build our products. So at our level, we need to have investors. It's not something that we can bootstrap.
Yeah.
Thank you both. That was helpful.
All right, well, it is almost 7. Do we have any other questions?
Kevin
Or-
had a question on the chat.
Oh, Kevin, go ahead.
So for Elise or Tim, what would you say to an entrepreneur who's thinking about participating but is worried that someone, either an investor or another entrepreneur, might steal their idea?
I guess my response to that is no idea is original. I hear that all the time from especially first-time founders, and yeah, I guess I just don't think that's something to worry about. It's very rare that somebody's going to steal your idea, and if it's something that can be patented, and if that's a huge concern of yours, then maybe think about that. But in general, I would say that shouldn't stop you from participating in this competition, or even participating in anything or telling others about your idea.
Yeah, and I guess I wrestled with that, not necessarily with the Alaska Angel Conference, but with our decision to pursue international markets, because that is something that can happen real easy over there. But we still have things protected in the States. I've never been concerned concerned about, I guess, investors taking my idea. It's always been somebody that I see investors as having enough on their hands to be doing the reputation, that kind of stuff, that it's just not something that would be healthy for anybody to do, is take somebody like Ramper Innovations' idea and try to move it forward, learning about it on the Alaska Angel Conference. So you just got to do it. You just got to get out there and do it. Fear is going to hold you back. So just go for it.
And let me just add, I think Kevin will agree with this. I'd be interested to hear what he has to say, but I've done some research on this topic as I was getting into angel investing because I wanted to better understand the culture. And my understanding is that the culture is that, the entrepreneur should expect that investors hear lots of ideas and aren't interested in taking all the trouble to execute an idea. And, the investors hear lots of good ideas. And of course, you have to share the good ideas with them if you want to get an investment from them. There are some beginner entrepreneurs who will ask investors to sign an NDA before they hear the pitch, but that if you do that to an experienced investor, the experienced investor will just think that shows that you're not a sophisticated entrepreneur, that you don't understand that that's not the culture of things.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So this is Scott. I have just to add to that. When I'm asked to sign an NDA, I will not do that, but ask people to just tell me what you can without needing an NDA. Start talking to me about what's your idea, and as we build a relationship, and if they find I'm trustworthy, then they'll share more and more without the need for an NDA. And so sometimes that just takes a little bit of time.
Yeah, and to add on to that, you don't necessarily, in a pitch or even in conversations with anyone, you don't really have to share your secret sauce, if that's what you call it. You can still share your idea without getting into the super details that make your idea unique.
Wonderful. All right. Well, I think that we can close Q&A portion, but before we go tonight, I'm going to share my screen with everyone, or at least attempt to share my screen with everyone, because I want to let everyone know that the application process for entrepreneurs is currently open. The Alaska Angel Conference 2020 is using the website GUST. So if you go to the Alaska Angel Conference website and you click on, I'll go to the homepage first. But if you click on entrepreneurs, it has a description of qualities that you have to have in order to apply. And it talks about the website GUST, and you will see that there's a link here. The thing about this link, it's a little tricky because it doesn't look like this page exists, but it does exist. You just first need a profile. So if you do not have a GUST profile, you have to go to Get Started, set up your profile, and then you can go back to that link and it will open up to you for the Alaska Angel Conference 2020. If you have any problems, any questions, please reach out to me at elaughlin@jedc.org, and I can help you through this process. We want to make sure that everyone that is interested in Alaska Angel Conference can get involved. So if you have any questions about anything, please feel free to reach out to me and I can get you connected. So are there any questions about the application process? You can ask them now, but also next week, our workshop is a tutorial on the application process. So you can hold your questions till then and we can go along and do that at that time. Or if you have any simple ones right now, I can try and answer them. All right. Well, with no questions regarding that, thank you for joining us tonight. look forward to seeing all the interested entrepreneurs in the tutorial next week. And also investors, please feel free to come along next week as well, so that way you know what the process is for applying and to build up a GUST application. And if you're, speaking of investors, if you're interested in being an investor and want to be included, email me at elaughlin@jdc.org and I can invite you to the GUST profile. That's important to mention. And with that, that is everything for tonight. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Thank you.